Hey guys, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas everybody. We're closing in on the Christmas Eve right now, and I wanted to show you a little bit of an update of a variation of a build to my Lich Queen Summoner Skeleton build. I made the tweaks to it to be more in line with actually farming Awakener, a little bit inspired from the first kill on Soul Self and Hardcore from Darky. However, I made my own touch to it because I wanted to minimize the time the last phase took by having more damage, and you don't really need that much defense as he's showing in his version. He was talking about using Sappho's Frame. I'm using the let's see, I'm actually using the On's Heritage like he was in the kill. We've done a couple of changes to it, having about 9.1k life, and the build is basically focusing just around skeletons and being pretty fucking tanky. So the video playing here in the background, I died once because I fucked up on the last phase, but I'll play this as we're killing the last phase. This is an Awakening level 8 Awakener, and it was very smooth. I just fucked up on a positioning, which killed me on the last phase, and I'll show you the kill here as I'm talking about the build. So basically, it's my usual Lich Queen build, just slightly tankier designed, and it was very smooth to play, and all you had to do was basically pop your skeletons, pop a curse, make sure your golem's up, and then just dodge the abilities. Which was very smooth, and I think that most types of skeletal builds will actually be able to do this rather smoothly. What's really important for the Awakener when you're playing a minion build is basically to have taunt on hits jewels, because if you have taunt on hits, the beams are not really something you need to worry about. Obviously, you need to still dodge them if they target you, or not walk into them if they're targeting like that. So you pop in the flask to make sure I survive it, get out of at least the first two of these to survive. I managed to, with the them taking a bit of time, I managed to get out of all three pretty smoothly. Just look for the little red beamy things on the ground. So the build itself is rather slow on clearing, which was my biggest issue. I think I did this fight with melee splash in the links, which I shouldn't. Should have a multi-strike. But as you can see, it's not really a problem. I went with full physical damage skeletons, and the fight was very easy to handle for this build. Spectres will die in this. They will most likely always die in this fight, and it's really freaking annoying. So I didn't really bother focusing on any Spectre approaches with this build personally. You can if you want to, but it was rather annoying to keep them alive in general. So I'm going to go through the details of this build after you guys have seen Awakener level 8 kill with this build. Just don't stand in the damage over time ground like I did there, so I dropped a bit more HP than I should have. A bit annoying, but other than that, the fight is very easy to handle. Just wait for the beams, make sure you dodge it, and make sure you have taunt and hit jewels, and that's really it. Very simple fight, and I think that zombie builds will be able to do this fairly simple as well, to be honest. The damage over time effect on the ground can be really annoying to see, but I think the biggest issue with this fight is just to learn where you can stand during the storm cloud phases and whatnot. So as you've seen this kill here, we're dropping one of the uniques, Watchstones. You got an Awakened melee splash and a Thread of Hope, and we're gonna fuck this now and show you the build. So I'll actually show you the PvP because it's easier to navigate through. I would recommend leveling with either Ball Lightning Arcs, Ball Lightning or Arc Mines, or you just level with minions, as in Skeletons or SRS, and picking up minion stability, which is really fine as well to do. I went out this way. If you're leveling with spells like Ball Lightning or Arc Mines, just pick up the spell damage nodes in here, get the life, and then go out for a quick recovery, and then go up for Cruel Preparation. And if you're going with minions, I would recommend going up here to pick up minion stability and use the Infernal Army node for support gem, for example. But both ways works very, very fine. I'm a big fan of playing with the Ball Lightning or Arc Mines as I'm leveling. It's really, really nice. So basically the tree is just going in for life, minion damage, getting a jewel. Jewels are very strong for the way I'm doing this. And during Bond, more life, more jewels, more life, more life, more life, and with minions. And I'm actually picking up all of these three big keystones, as well as more life and a jewel. Going through here for discipline training and Grave Pact for the double damage, the entire life cluster, more life, going in for me not being able to evade attacks but I can't be stunned, and then having more life, more life, more life, and then Soul Seal for even more resistances. So the way I'm playing this build is pretty straightforward socket-wise. I'm using a wand that gives you plus level of all spell skills. Now you can use some plus level of all minion skills as well, but I actually prefer the plus level of all spell skills because this helps me with the 2 purity Rs that I'm running. I'm not running 3, only 2. There's no cold damage on the Awakener. There is, however, fire and lightning. So I'm using one of these. Very simple, not that hard to craft. They could be somewhat expensive, but I actually found that the plus level of all spell skills was cheaper than buying a plus level of minion skills on the market currently. You don't necessarily have to find one with plus minion damage, because if you have a prefix open, you can actually craft a better minion damage than what I have on this weapon right now. So again, very easy to find this type of weapon. The helmet is really bad because I have a wrong base. I had to get 4 off colors. But anything with a bunch of life and resistances, and then you want to have the offering, a flesh offering grants you additional attack speed, which is insanely effective for your skeletons as well as yourself for if you're using something like a shield charge, which you can absolutely do. But I would definitely recommend getting something like this. My pure Lich Queen build guide, which is in that thread, I will post this POV as well as in the description below, can use an Elder Helmet to get yourself Solar Guard Spectres for easier clearing. I'm not using that, so instead I have 2 Undying Evangelist shitty Spectres that usually die in the Awakener fight anyways. The shield, on Heritage, I'm not using any endurance charges, so I'll have +3 to maximum resistances. Amulet, basically just stats, life, resistances. Ring, stats, life, resistances. Stats, life, resistances. If you're playing this in 3.9 Metamorph, you can get some Catalyst, Fertile to increase the HP gain. Gloves, same thing there. Just a bunch of HP and stats if you need to. Belt, same thing there. Stats, life, resistances. Boots, movement speed, stats, life, resistances. It's very, very, very generic to gear this. The jewel I have here gives me taunt on... this one has a corrupted blood can't be inflicted on you. This is very, very nice to have. The minions deals extra chaos damage, does not apply to my minions because I'm using brutality, which I'll show you in a bit. But the life is decent and there's corrupted blood can't be afflicted. So I would recommend getting something like this for the sake of Awakener himself. Flask, I'm using 2 Forbidden Taste, which will always pop me to full HP. And then I have a regenerating flask as well. The suffix is a bit whatever, but I'm using Dowsing because you can sometimes be burned in the Awakener fight. I have an Enduring Mana Flask, which helps you sustain your actual damage output. And I have this with Staunching and then a Warding Flask for mapping. So that's basically it. And the jewels I have in the rest of my gear is basically life with minions deals increased damage if you use a minion skill recently. Now recently refers to the past 4 seconds, which means that as long as I'm casting the golem, my skeleton, or my convocation, I will have increased damage for the next 4 seconds. This is one of the strongest minion damage increasing rolls that you can get for skeletons. Many people think that the fist damage would be better, but that's only better for the sake of zombies, not for skeletons. You actually gain much more from having this increased damage modifier, from my understanding, from what I've seen from PoE. I don't really need Mystic Bulwark for this build. I can literally just drop this because I don't really need it. So I can drop this right off the bat and just ignore that entirely and simply just take another jewel slot, which I should have done and just noticed this right now. It's in the PoE. Just more life, and let's see the other jewel. I have one right here. This one is a rather expensive jewel because you want to make sure that you have at least 1 or 2 taunt jewels. So those jewels might not necessarily have the increased damage when you use the minion skill recently, which is okay. As long as you have 1 or 2 taunt jewels to get around 10% taunt, then you'll have a guaranteed taunt on the enemies with 10 skeletons out, a golem hitting as well, plus 2 specters hitting as well. So just life and taunt, and then you focus on the other jewels looking like this with life and minion damage deals increased after you've used the minion skill. So that's basically the kind of jewels that I'm playing with on this build. I only have 1 taunt jewel, but it's giving me 8%, so I would recommend having 2 to get around 10% with it. The skill gems is very simple. I'll show you here because it's easier. The skeletons is a level 21 skeleton. The one you saw was a 21-0, so I don't even have quality on it, but it's a 21 skeleton gem. Very cheap to buy if you want to buy it. Brutality, Melee Fist, Multi-Strike, Minion Damage, Impale, and then you replace Multi-Strike with Melee Splash if you want to do clearing, but you replace Melee Splash back with Multi-Strike for single target. The gems you saw here are level 17 and 18. I believe the kill we did on the Awakener level 8 was done with level 16. The Impale is level 20 though. The auras, like I mentioned before, the reason I prefer to have +1 level of all spell skills is because if you then have a level 21 purity of fire and lightning, they will then be level 22, allowing to get 1 additional max level or max resistances number. Not a big deal, but it's really nice. So purity fire, purity lightning, if you have a + level of all skills, try to get a 21. It's not a big deal. You won't notice the difference that much, to be honest. And then I have a Dread Banner, and my current Dread Banner is level 17 during the Awakening 8 kill, was level 16, so again, levels of gems is not really that big. And this is to help our allies impale enemies deal even more damage. As you can see here on the left hand side, my skeletons with level 20 gems would deal about 604 Shaper DPS per skeleton. That's 6 million Shaper damage when they're all hitting. The curses, I'm using a Convocation Portal, and then I have a vulnerability that I'm self-casting. The Race Spectres are, actually these are the wrong ones, hold on. We did some testings with this. Increased duration, no, not less, duration. And then we have Meat Shield to keep them close to us, and we have Area of Effect in there. That's how it looks, I believe. Increased duration, Meat Shield, Area Effect, correct. And these specters, as you can see here in the POB, is supposed to be Undying Evangelist. We did some tests with this. Let's see if we can get the Undying Evangelist in there and save this so people can actually make sure they have the correct ones. These specters props up proximity shields. Any attack that comes from outside the bubble, unless it's a ground effect that deals damage over time, any attack that comes from outside of the bubbles will never hit me. The specters will die on the Awakener, but they're very nice and comfortable to use in general, so that's why I recommend using these. You pick these specters up in Act 3, Scepter of God. That's it. When you bring them to your hideout, you can just spawn them on the ground. We have one right there, Undying Evangelist. And a quick note for those of you who don't know how to target these guys, go to Options, UI, scroll down. No, wait, where is it? There, Corpse Targeting. Either when you hold your A key down or always enabled. So if you have a spell that deals with corpses, then you'll be able to see the name in the top left. So that's how you do it with those. And then I have a Carrion Golem with a Maim to make sure that the Maim is enabled on the enemies. The Maim is then supported also with Meat Shield and Feeding Frenzy. Now, Meat Shield makes them defensive, Feeding Frenzy makes them aggressive. So these two will basically make the AI changes not affecting. So they're going to be a normal Carrion Golem, but they'll have the increased buff effect of Meat Shield, and they'll provide my minions with Feeding Frenzy. As you can see, the damage on my skeletons here real quick, 604. By disabling Feeding Frenzy, the damage goes down by about 80,000 Shaper DPS per skeleton. So that's why we use it this way. And last but not least, I'm using faster casting, flame dash, flesh offering, and increased duration. I do believe we actually changed the portal here to desecrate. There we go. Keep mixing this out, the final tweaks. We had desecrate in there to make sure we can have flesh offering out. And that's it. That's literally it. Pantheons is a matter of personal taste. In this case, since we are already immune to stuns, I'm using the increased reduced damage taken from damage over time effect, because there's a lot of burning shit going on Awakener fight, as well as dousing. We also have the Soul Shikari to be immune to poisons and damage taken being reduced, as well as damage over time from caustic ground, for example, when you're doing maps. And that's it. It's a very simple build. I'm never actually placing the banner. I could do that, but it's not needed. Kite around, put the shit up, and the boss will die. Very, very simple. Clearing with this build is okay, but it's a little bit slow compared to my normal Lich Queen build. But that's about it. That's literally it. I got nothing else to say. It's a pretty straightforward build, tons of HP. It's very cheap to get this build going. There's nothing big on this build except the wand, and this wand is very simple to purchase. You can look at this if you do a convoking wand on the market. Level of all spell skill gems. Open prefix for the minion damage. Empty prefix modifiers 1. Search. We should be able to get this for 15 chaos. Right there. This weapon right there would be perfect. Another one. 15 chaos. Open prefix for a minion craft. Perfect. 15 chaos. Open prefix. Perfect. 15C. 25C. 25. 25. It's cheap. It's what I'm trying to get at. To get this. That's the biggest item. And then you got a 6-linker chest armor crib, obviously. And that's it. And you get so much good things for this. It's very easy to do this. Absolutely disgustingly easy to get this build going. And it handles Awakener level 8 fights as well without any big problems. Anyways, that's it for this build. Hit me up in the comments below what you guys think of this build, or if you've done any other versions, because I know pretty much any type of zombie or skeleton build will be able to have an easy time with the Awakener just having taunt on it. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it. And make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more content, ring the bell to get notified. Until next time, stay safe, keep rocking.